There comes a moment in every seeker's journey when the world around them begins to feel strangely repetitive. The same patterns keep playing out, the same obstacles seem to reappear, and even victories begin to feel hollow. You look at your life and wonder, is this all there is? It is in that quiet, unsettling space that the deeper questions begin to arise. What if the reality I am living right now is not the only one available to me? What if there are infinite versions of my life waiting to be unlocked? Infinite versions of myself, each carrying a different destiny. And if that is true, what is the key that grants access to those other timelines? The answer is far simpler, yet more profound than most imagine. It is not about controlling every external circumstance, nor is it about endlessly chasing after goals in the outside world. The gateway lies within. It lies in the subtle yet powerful realm of identity. Who you believe yourself to be at the deepest level becomes the anchor that locks you into a certain timeline. Identity is the invisible scriptwriter of your life, shaping what you see, how you respond, and ultimately what manifests in your reality. But here is the paradox that many never realize: identity is not fixed. It is not something you were given at birth that you must carry forever. It is not a prison cell, though most people live as if it is. Identity is fluid, malleable, and quantum in nature. The self you believe yourself to be today is merely one possibility among countless others. And the moment you dare to release that old self and step into a new identity, you shift timelines. You step into a reality where different doors open, synchronicities appear, and life reorganizes itself around the new version of you. Think of it this way. Imagine your life as a vast library filled with endless books. Each book contains a different story of you. Different choices, different relationships, different outcomes. Yet you can only read one book at a time. The book you are reading right now feels so real, so immersive, that you forget the others exist. But they are there, waiting. And the way you switch books, the way you leap from one storyline to another, is through the upgrade of identity. It is by deciding that you are no longer the character bound by the old chapters, but instead the author who can choose a new narrative entirely. Most people never discover this. They live as prisoners of a story handed down to them, by their parents, by their culture, by the fearful whispers of the world. They cling to an outdated sense of self, repeating the same thoughts, the same emotional patterns, the same limiting beliefs. And because they keep rehearsing the same identity, they remain locked in the same timeline. Life does not change. Not because change is impossible, but because their identity has remained unchanged. Yet something within you already senses there is more. That is why you are here, listening, searching, curious about unlocking new dimensions of your reality. You feel the pull of the infinite. You feel the whisper of a higher self calling you into expansion. And deep down you know that you were not born to live the same story on repeat. You were born to explore, to shift, to expand, to become. This is where the journey begins, not with trying harder, not with forcing reality into submission, but with recognizing that you already hold the master key. The identity you choose to inhabit is the doorway. You are not limited by your past, by your mistakes, or by the labels that others have placed upon you. Those belong to an older version of you, and that version does not have to be the one steering your future. Close your eyes for a moment, and imagine yourself standing at a crossroads. Behind you is the version of you that you have always been, the one carrying the same habits, fears, doubts, and small victories. Ahead of you are countless paths, each one glowing with the possibility of a different self. One path leads to the timeline where you are thriving, abundant, and aligned. Another path leads to a version of you who has embraced courage instead of fear. Another to a self who radiates love, wisdom, and clarity. All of these versions exist, waiting to be chosen, and the choice is not made by external circumstances. The choice is made by identity. The beauty of this truth is that it places the power back into your hands. You are not a victim of fate, trapped in a single destiny. You are a creator, navigating a quantum field of infinite potential. And the bridge between where you are and where you long to be is not as vast as you may think. It is as close as the next thought, the next belief, the next moment when you say to yourself, I am no longer that old version. I am becoming someone new. This is the essence of the identity upgrade, the conscious, deliberate choice to embody a new self so that reality has no choice but to rearrange itself around you. It is not magic in the sense of superstition, but it is magical in the sense of alignment. When your identity shifts, your vibration shifts. When your vibration shifts, your reality responds. This is how timelines open, how possibilities unfold, and how you unlock the life that once felt like a dream. So as we begin this journey together, I invite you to set aside the old story just for now. Let the weight of your past identity fall away. For the next few minutes, allow yourself to be open to the possibility that who you truly are is far greater than you have ever imagined. Because the truth is, the only limit on your reality is the identity you continue to hold. And when you upgrade that identity, you upgrade your entire existence. One of the greatest obstacles to transformation is not the lack of desire, nor the absence of opportunity, but the belief that who you are is fixed. From the moment you are born, invisible threads of identity begin weaving themselves around you. Your parents call you by a name. Society labels you with certain expectations. Your early experiences shape how you see the world, and slowly, almost without realizing it, you begin to believe a story about yourself. That story becomes a costume you wear so long that you forget it is a costume. You begin to confuse the role with the actor, the script with the soul. Think back to your earliest memories. Perhaps you were told you were shy, or too loud, or smart, or slow. Maybe you were praised for being responsible, or criticized for being a dreamer. Those words, repeated often enough, began to solidify in your mind as truth. And from those early truths, an identity formed. You began to move through life believing, this is who I am. You carried those beliefs into your teenage years, into your adult life, into your relationships and your career. They became the lens through which you viewed yourself, and because you believed them, life mirrored them back to you. But here lies the quiet tragedy: most people never question whether that identity is true. They live decades replaying the same patterns because no one ever told them that identity is a choice, not a sentence. Instead, they cling to the illusion that the self is permanent, that who they were yesterday must define who they are today. This illusion is powerful because it hides in plain sight. It feels safe to believe you are fixed. It gives you predictability. It gives you continuity. It gives you something familiar to hold on to. But what it also gives you is limitation. The illusion of the fixed self traps people in cycles they do not even realize they are repeating. Consider the person who always finds themselves in the same type of relationship. At first it seems different, the faces change, the settings change, but somehow the ending is always the same. Or the individual who constantly feels blocked in their career, no matter what job they take. The same frustrations follow them like a shadow. It is not the external world that is truly repeating. It is the identity they carry into each new situation. The same script creates the same play, even on a different stage. Identity is like the operating system of a computer. If the operating system is outdated, the programs you try to run will glitch, freeze, or fail to launch. And yet most people keep trying to run new programs on an old system. They set new goals, chase new dreams, but the old identity cannot sustain them. They wonder why success slips away, why relationships crumble, why habits return. The answer is not in trying harder, it is in updating the operating system itself. There is another layer to this illusion, one that is even more subtle. Many people fear letting go of their old identity, even if it brings pain. They cling to it because it feels familiar, and the unfamiliar feels dangerous. Imagine someone who has always identified as the struggler. Life has been difficult, money has been tight, and challenges have been constant. To that person, struggle becomes not just an experience but a sense of self. Now imagine asking them to believe they are abundant, that life can flow with ease. On one level they want it, they long for it, but on another level, it feels like death to the old self. The identity of the struggler resists being replaced because in a strange way, it has kept them safe. It has given them meaning. This is why transformation often feels like an internal tug-of-war. One part of you longs to expand into a higher self, while another part clings to the comfort of what is known. The illusion of the fixed self whispers, "This is just who you are. People don't change. Don't risk becoming someone new." And many listen to that whisper, not realizing that it is the voice of fear disguised as wisdom. But here is the truth hidden beneath the illusion. You are not your past, you are not your labels, you are not your mistakes or your victories. You are not even the thoughts you think on repeat. You are consciousness itself, fluid, limitless, ever-changing. And consciousness was never meant to be trapped inside a rigid identity. It was meant to expand, to evolve, to explore the infinite expressions of self. If you were to strip away every label, every story, every memory, what would remain? A pure awareness, untouched and free. That is your truest self. All identities are temporary garments that you wear for a time. Some garments serve you, others restrict you, but none of them are permanent. The illusion convinces you that you are the garment, when in truth, you are the one who chooses which garment to wear. Consider this, at different stages of your life, you have already been different selves, the child version of you, the teenager, the young adult, they were all different identities. You spoke differently, acted differently, believed differently, and yet here you are. Which one of those was the real you? The answer is both all of them, and none of them. Each identity was a chapter in your evolution, but none defined your essence. The problem arises only when you mistake one chapter for the entire book. Breaking free from the illusion of the fixed self requires. It means daring to question the story you have carried for so long. It means asking yourself, what if the version of me I have always believed in is not the only possibility? What if the limits I see are not absolute, but simply reflections of the self I have chosen to embody? And what if, right now, I could choose differently? When you begin to ask these questions, the cracks in the illusion start to show. The costume begins to loosen. You start to realize that the fixed self was never real, it was simply rehearsed. You rehearsed being shy until it felt true. You rehearsed being unworthy until it felt natural. You rehearsed being small until the world seemed to confirm it, but what is rehearsed can always be rewritten. What is learned can always be unlearned. This realization is both liberating and unsettling. Liberating, because it means you are not trapped. Unsettling, because it places the responsibility back on you. You can no longer blame destiny, or luck, or circumstance alone. You must acknowledge that the self you have been living from has been a choice, even if unconscious. And now, with awareness, you have the power to choose again. So pause for a moment and reflect, what identity have you been unconsciously carrying? What labels have you accepted as truth, without question? What stories about yourself have you repeated so many times that they feel like reality? And most importantly, are those stories serving the highest version of who you can be? Because here is the secret, the illusion does not want you to know. The moment you stop identifying with the old self, the old reality begins to dissolve. You are not locked into one version of life. You are a quantum being, with access to infinite possibilities. The fixed self is a myth, a shadow play, a cage made of thought, and the key to stepping into new timelines is realizing that the lock was never real. If the illusion of the fixed self is the prison, then the quantum nature of identity is the escape hatch. It is the realization that who you are is not a static point in space, but a field of infinite possibility. At the deepest level, you are not matter first. You are energy. You are vibration, frequency, consciousness expressing itself through the lens of a human experience. And this truth changes everything. Quantum physics has long revealed that reality is not as solid as it seems. At the microscopic level, matter dissolves into energy, and energy responds to observation. What we think of as reality is in fact a sea of probabilities collapsing into form based on attention and intention. The universe is less like a rigid machine and more like a living dream, shifting, responsive, and infinitely malleable. And just as light can exist as both particle and wave, so too can you exist in countless versions simultaneously. Identity then is not simply psychological, it is quantum. The self you believe you are is like a tuning fork, vibrating at a specific frequency. That frequency determines which version of reality you collapse into, which timeline becomes available, which opportunities appear in your path. Two people can walk into the same room, and one will see abundance, possibilities, and connections, while the other sees rejection, obstacles, and scarcity. The difference is not in the room. It is in the identity they carry into the room. Think of identity as a frequency broadcast. Every thought you think, every emotion you sustain, every belief you embody is sending out a signal. And reality, like a mirror, reflects back what harmonizes with that signal. If your identity is rooted in fear, life will show you reasons to fear. If your identity is rooted in worthiness, life will confirm your worth. If your identity is rooted in abundance, opportunities will seem to magically align with you. This is not coincidence, it is resonance. You cannot consistently experience a reality that is out of alignment with who you believe yourself to be. Here lies the secret many overlook. Shifting reality does not begin by trying to control external circumstances. It begins by upgrading the frequency of your identity. You cannot force a timeline to appear if you are still broadcasting the old signal. But the moment you embody the vibration of the new self, reality has no choice but to respond. This is not wishful thinking. It is law. Imagine for a moment that reality is like a vast radio spectrum, filled with countless stations. Each station is a different timeline, playing a different song. You cannot hear the music of abundance while tuned to the station of scarcity. You cannot experience love while tuned to the station of unworthiness. The music is already playing. It exists right now, but you must shift the dial of identity to align with it. The dial is your beliefs, your emotions, your sense of self. When you turn that dial, you don't create the station, you simply align with it. This understanding dissolves the old struggle. So many people spend years fighting their circumstances, pushing against reality, trying to make change happen through sheer force. But force is the language of the old self. Alignment is the language of the quantum self. When you shift identity, the struggle ceases because you are no longer forcing reality, you are resonating with it. The doors that once felt locked swing open on their own. Of course, this process can feel mysterious, almost miraculous. You may have heard stories of people who completely turned their lives around, seemingly overnight. They went from poverty to prosperity, from heartbreak to soul-deep love, from despair to radiant purpose. To the outside observer, it looks like luck or divine intervention. But at the core it was identity. Something within them shifted. They stopped rehearsing the old self and began embodying the new. And once that internal shift happened, reality could not help but rearrange itself to match. You might wonder, isn't this just positive thinking? The answer is no. Positive thinking is like painting over cracks in a wall, hoping the house will hold. Quantum identity work is different. It is going beneath the surface, replacing the very foundation. You are not pretending to be something you are not, you are remembering what you already are, limitless consciousness, choosing a new form of expression. But here comes the contrast, the fork in the road where many seekers pause. On one side is the old self, rooted in survival. It clings to labels, fears, and stories because it believes safety comes from familiarity. On the other side is the quantum self, fluid and expansive, daring to step into the unknown. The old self says, I must see it to believe it. The quantum self whispers, believe it, and you will see it. One is bound by cause and effect linearity, the other dances in the realm of infinite possibilities. Stepping into the quantum nature of identity means embracing a new relationship with reality. It means recognizing that you are not separate from the field, you are the field, expressing itself uniquely. It means understanding that your future self is not waiting far away, but vibrating right now, already alive in a parallel timeline. The version of you who has already achieved peace, love, and abundance exists in this very moment. The only question is, are you tuned to their frequency? Think of a time when you caught a glimpse of this truth. Perhaps you felt it during meditation, or while standing in nature, or in the quiet of a sleepless night. For just a moment, you sensed that life was bigger than the story you had been living. That feeling was not imagination, it was resonance. It was the quantum field brushing against your awareness, reminding you that you are more than this moment's limitations. The journey into the quantum nature of identity is not about abandoning your humanity. It is not about floating above life, disconnected from its challenges. Rather, it is about infusing your humanity with awareness. It is about realizing that every choice, every thought, every breath is an act of creation. You are never passive, you are always broadcasting. The only question is, are you broadcasting the old self, Or are you transmitting the frequency of the self you long to become? And here is where the transformation deepens. Once you understand that identity is quantum, you stop waiting. You stop saying, when my circumstances change, then I will feel worthy. When I have the relationship, then I will feel love. When I have the money, then I will feel abundant. You realize that waiting is an old identity trick, a trap to keep you stuck. Instead, you embody worthiness now, love now, abundance now, and reality bends to that vibration. This is why identity upgrade is the master key to unlocking unlimited timelines. You are not chasing the future, you are aligning with it. You are not begging reality to change, you are embodying the change until reality reflects it. Every great mystic, every enlightened teacher, every modern manifestation mentor has pointed to this truth in their own way. You become it first, and then you see it. So pause for a moment, and feel into this. Who is the version of you that already lives the life you desire? How do they breathe? How do they walk into a room? How do they speak, think, and respond to challenges? That version of you is not far away, it exists in the field, right now. The bridge between you and them is not time, it is identity. The old self will resist, of course. It will tell you that nothing is happening, that you are pretending, that it is safer to remain small. But if you listen closely, you will also hear the whisper of your higher self. It speaks in quiet knowing, in sudden inspiration, in synchronicities that defy logic. It is the voice of your quantum nature, calling you home to who you truly are. The more you tune into that voice, the stronger it becomes. The more you embody that vibration, the more the field responds. Life begins to feel different, not because you forced it, but because you became different. And when you become different, reality cannot help but rearrange itself. That is the quantum nature of identity. That is the power of choosing who you are in every moment. Understanding the quantum nature of identity is powerful, but it remains only an idea until it is embodied. The shift is not intellectual alone, it is lived, breathed, and felt in every moment. To upgrade your identity and unlock new timelines, you must not only see the higher version of yourself, you must begin to wear it, to inhabit it, to let it move through you as if it were already who you are. This is where the journey becomes real, where the mystical becomes practical. The first step is awareness. You cannot change what you cannot see. Begin by noticing the old self as it speaks, as it reacts, as it repeats familiar patterns. Notice the thoughts that arise. I can't do this. People like me never succeed. I'm not enough. Notice the emotions that accompany them, the tension, the heaviness, the sense of limitation. This awareness is not meant to judge the old self but to reveal it. When you can witness your identity instead of being fused with it, you have already loosened its grip. Awareness shines a light into the shadow of the rehearsed self, and in that light, possibility awakens. From awareness, the next step is re-choosing. Identity is not a one-time declaration. It is a choice made again and again, moment by moment. Each time you feel the old story rising, you pause and remind yourself, that is the old version of me. I no longer live there. And then gently you ask, what would the upgraded self choose right now? How would they respond? How would they feel? How would they act? This question becomes your compass, pointing you toward the embodiment of a new self. At first it may feel like pretending. You may hear the inner critic whisper, this isn't real, you're just faking it. But understand this, every identity you have ever lived began as a rehearsal. You rehearsed being small until it felt natural. You rehearsed being doubtful until it felt automatic. And now you are rehearsing expansion, worthiness, abundance. The repetition of the new self will eventually replace the repetition of the old. Pretending is not deception. It is practice. It is the way you train your energy field to align with a higher frequency. Visualization is a powerful tool in this practice. Close your eyes and see the version of you who has already shifted. Imagine them living their day, walking into spaces with confidence, speaking with clarity, radiating the vibration of alignment. Feel their emotions. What does peace feel like in the body? What does abundance feel like in the heart? What does love feel like when it moves through every cell of your being? Let yourself inhabit those sensations until they feel familiar. The subconscious does not know the difference between imagination and reality. It responds to the feeling state. And when you repeatedly embody the feelings of the new self, your subconscious begins to accept it as truth. But embodiment is not just internal, it is expressed through action. The new self must be lived, not only imagined. Ask yourself, what would the upgraded identity do today that the old identity would avoid? Perhaps it is taking a bold step in your career, setting a boundary in your relationships, or choosing self-care instead of self-sabotage. Each action you take in alignment with the upgraded self reinforces the shift. Action is the anchor that grounds the vibrational change into physical reality. Without action, the new identity remains an idea. With action, it becomes embodied truth. This process is not about perfection. There will be moments when the old self resurfaces, when fear feels louder than alignment, when doubt pulls you back. This is natural. Transformation is not linear, it is rhythmic. What matters is not that you never slip into the old identity, but that you do not stay there. Each time you notice yourself falling back, you gently return to the upgraded self. Think of it like learning to walk. At first you wobble, you fall, but each attempt strengthens you until walking becomes effortless. So too with identity. At first you practice, and then one day, without even realizing it, you are simply being. Ritual can also help anchor the new self. Small, sacred acts become reminders of who you are choosing to be. It might be journaling each morning from the perspective of your upgraded identity, writing as if you are already living in that timeline. It might be creating affirmations that resonate deeply, not as empty words but as living truths. It might be meditating daily, imagining yourself stepping into a field of infinite possibility, and calling forth the version of you who already exists there. These practices are not rigid rules, they are invitations, ways to tune your frequency with intention. And then there is the emotional alignment. Many underestimate the role of emotion in identity. Thoughts are the seeds, but emotions are the water that make them grow. If you declare "I am abundant," but inside you feel scarcity, the old self is still active. True embodiment comes when the declaration and the emotion align. This is why practices like gratitude are so powerful. Gratitude tunes your emotional body to the frequency of abundance, to the sense of already having. When you live in gratitude, you embody the identity of someone who knows they are provided for, and reality responds in kind. Perhaps the most profound moment in this process is the shift from trying to being. At first the upgrade feels like effort. You are consciously choosing, practicing, aligning, but eventually something clicks. You wake up one day and realize you are no longer trying to be the new self, you are simply being it. The identity has fused into your consciousness, and the old self feels like a distant memory. This is the breakthrough moment, the point where timelines truly shift, opportunities appear effortlessly, synchronicities line up, and life begins to mirror the upgraded frequency in ways that once felt impossible. And yet this process is not about becoming someone you are not. It is about peeling back the layers of fear and conditioning to reveal the self that was always waiting. The upgraded identity is not a mask, it is a homecoming. It is the remembrance of your infinite nature, expressed through a new form. You are not faking, you are remembering. You are not forcing, you are aligning. So ask yourself now, what identity are you ready to step into? Who is the version of you that unlocks the timeline of love, abundance, and freedom? And are you willing to begin living as that self today, even in small ways? Because the truth is, you do not have to wait for the future. The future is already here, vibrating in the quantum field. All that is required is the courage to embody it now. When you begin to live as the upgraded identity, everything shifts. Conversations feel different, opportunities arise, synchronicities multiply. Life begins to flow with a rhythm that feels both natural and miraculous. And you realize that the universe was never withholding anything, it was simply waiting for you to align. This is embodiment, this is the upgrade, and this is how unlimited timelines unlock before your very eyes. As this journey draws to a close, take a deep breath and let the weight of these words settle into your being. You are not who you once believed yourself to be. You are not bound by the illusions of a fixed self, nor by the stories written long ago. You are not trapped in one narrow version of reality. You are a limitless being, a conscious creator moving through a quantum field of infinite timelines. The life you long for is not somewhere far away. It already exists, shimmering in the realm of possibility, waiting for you to claim it. The key, as you now know, is identity. The self you carry is the gateway through which timelines unfold. When you cling to the old self, reality reflects back the same patterns, the same limitations, the same struggles. But the moment you dare to upgrade your identity, to embody a higher, more expansive version of who you are, everything begins to shift. It is not the external world that changes first. It is you. And when you change, the world has no choice but to respond. Remember, this process is not about pretending or forcing. It is about remembering and aligning. It is about stepping into the frequency of the self that has already become what you desire. That self already exists, alive in the field, waiting for you to tune into its signal. Every thought you choose, every emotion you embody, every action you take in alignment with that upgraded identity brings you closer to living in that timeline. And perhaps the most beautiful truth is this: you are never alone in this process. Life itself is conspiring with you. The universe longs for your expansion, for your awakening, for your return to the truth of who you are. Synchronicities are not accidents, they are invitations. Intuitive nudges are not random. They are guidance. Each time you listen, each time you align, the path becomes clearer, the journey becomes lighter, and the reality around you begins to feel more like home. So as you step forward from this moment, ask yourself, who am I choosing to be now? Will I continue rehearsing the old story, clinging to an identity that no longer serves me? Or will I rise, embodying the upgraded self that unlocks new possibilities, new relationships, new timelines of abundance and peace? The choice is always yours, and the power is always within you. Take this as a reminder: your reality is not fixed, your story is not finished, and your self is not limited. You are infinite, you are fluid, you are free. And the moment you choose to upgrade your identity, you choose to unlock a life beyond anything you have yet imagined. Step into it now, with courage, with faith, with love. The unlimited timelines are waiting, and they are already yours.